The fall of Babylon. I will be sharing with you what the Ruach revealed to me about the fall of Babylon. First of all, there are two Babylons. Babylon's a system. The first one, obvious, is Rome. The second one is in America. But where in America? It's set up in the District of Columbia. They're sister cities. The District of Columbia is three cities that run the world. Some think the system is broken. Others know that it was built that way by design. The seven hills of Rome, the seven hills of Washington, D.C. Circled in the blue, territory of Vatican. Welcome to Virgin Mary, Virginia, named after their goddess, Mary Land. Another name for her would be Colombia, or also the Statue of Liberty, Libertad. Notice how the Statue of Liberty has seven spikes on its crown, like in the seven hills. And the Statue of Liberty is androgynous, if you haven't noticed. The unholy trinity. One controls the finance, the other one your spiritual life, and the other one military. Better known as the District of Columbia. Washington, D.C., the beast Obama. City of London, the red dragon, King Charles. Look at their crest, it's a red dragon. And if he passes away, it will naturally go on to his son. And Vatican City, the false prophet. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, because there are three. And the reading of Revelation 20. It tells you that Satan will be led out of his prison, enjoy Gog and Magog and other nations to go to Jerusalem and surround God's people for the mighty battle. London, Gematria, demonic being. I'm fallen angel, Gog and Magog. Barack Obama, mark of the beast, Barack Obama. And you see how it also says here Prophet Muhammad? Because he's a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, all presidents are. All presidents are related to the King of England, and they were descendants of the Prophet Muhammad. And for the false prophet, there you go, the Vatican, Synagogue Satan, circled in the blue, the three cities that run the world. Washington, D.C., Vatican City, and the city of London. Liberty, Gematria. Ritual sacrifice, blasphemy, Barack Hussein Obama, Satan, Lucifer, God. So Canada, North and South America, and the islands was the territory assigned to children of Israel. The Hamites were given Africa. The children of Japheth were given Asia and Europe. So when we fell into captivity, our lands were taken from us. So this whole system of Babylon was set up in America. So you see the East Coast right here? That's Babylon, Egypt. And that's where this District of Columbia is set up. And that's where the original 13 colonies were also founded. So the eclipse that took place on April 8th, that's judgment coming to Nineveh, all that area. Like I explained before, it's the switching of the dragons. Mordecai's dream. So give her like a measure of torment and mourning, since in her heart she says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I should never see. For this reason her place will come in a single day, death, mourning, and famine. And she will be burned up with fire, for the mighty is Adonai Yah who has judged her. Then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and threw it into the sea, saying, So will Babylon, the great city, be thrown down with violence. And the prophecy of Ephraim Rodriguez. He speaks of an asteroid that's going to come down and hit the Islas Odomonas by Puerto Rico that will cause a giant tsunami to wipe out the east coast of the U.S., causing the death and destructions of millions. This is from the reading of Jeremiah 51. Pardon how messy it is. Listen, hear the cry of the great destruction of Babylon, the land the Chaldeans rule. For Adonai is destroying Babylon, her mighty voice is still as the waves roll in upon her. Then when you have finished reading the scroll, tie a rock to it and throw it into the Euphrates River. And say, So shall Babylon sink, never more to rise, because of all the evil I am bringing upon her. So in other words, all America is not going to be sinking. It's the east coast where Babylon is. But our lands will be purified by fire, the other half. How Babylon has fallen, great Babylon, lauded by all the earth. The earth can scarcely believe its eyes at Babylon's fall. The sea has risen upon Babylon. She is governed by its waves. Babylon. I know it's messy, but it's very important that you read this or read it in your Bibles, because it's a civil war that's coming to America. We had it during our captivity, now it's going to be returned, because everything gets boomerang back. She gets a double portion of the bitter cup. To the Hebrews in Babylon say, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has eaten and crushed us, and emptied our strength, and has swallowed us up like a great monster. and filled his belly with our riches and cast us out of our own country. Yes, they did. May Babylon be repaid for all she did to us. May she be paid in full for all our blood that she spilled. And Adonai replied, I will be your lawyer. I will avenge you. Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come. Everything that can withstand the fire must be put to fire, and it will be cleaned. But it must still be purified with water of purification. And everything that cannot withstand the fire must pass through the water. The Ruach is both water and fire. So the east coast will be purified by water, and the other portion by fire. But the heaven and the earth which now are, by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. For Adonai has stirred up the spirits of the king of the Medes to march on Babylon and destroy her. This is his vengeance on those who wronged his people and desecrated his temple. The siege of Jerusalem, Babylonian captivity. So if America is Babylon, Jerusalem is in America, making Jah's holy temple in America. He will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banners of Jasharel and gather the dispersed of Jehudah from the four corners of the earth. And there will be a highway from Assyria for the remnants that remain of his people, as they were for Jasharel when they came up from the land of Egypt. And Adonai shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, that thou shalt see no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Alas, that day is so great that there is none like it. It is a time of distress for Jacob, yet he should be saved out of it, because he'll be gathering his remnants. I just want to remind everybody that the Gentile nations are grafted into the tree of life. And in the first Exodus, there was a group of Egyptians. They followed us. They came out with us because they started to follow our ways and our Torah and worship our Yah. And it will happen again. So the nations of Israel are copper color, red nations, and black. We started off like that, but the northern kingdom, due to colonization, a lot of us are fair skinned like myself. The copper color races. And remember, it's not the exterior, not the vessel, it's the spirit that you have to worry about. Because a lot of the dark races are pagan. And so are the Hamites. You should know by now that the Kasarians are identity thieves. They are posing as the children of Yah. In the Song of Solomon, my beloved is radiant and ruddy, and the girl was dark and beautiful. My beloved one is tan and handsome. So this dawn, this book right here, this is during my travels. The Ruach led me both to Arizona, where the reservations are at, and that's where I purchased a little doll, and to New Orleans, the plantations of New Orleans, and the selling block, and that's where I purchased the book. And like I said, the Northern Kingdom, we did start off red, copper color, but because of colonization, we're speckled now. My heritage is to me as a speckled bird, because we're speckled birds. We come in all colors. So you know that Eve, the Eve gene, right? She's black. But Adam was red. For Adam means red earth or red ground, making one red and one black. So they call us the copper color nations, and we came from the soil. You know that there's copper in the soil, and the water, air, and rocks? They sell jewelry and drinking vessels of copper. They say to have healing properties, as in anti-aging, anti-inflammatory. It's good for antibacterial, for your circulation. Copper can stimulate collagen production. It's good for pain relief and to help reduce your cholesterol. And also grounding. Grounding improves your sleeping, reduces stress, reduces pain, and reduces inflammation, and improves blood flow and circulation. After all, they make our bodies to heal itself. You can have a cold, and with proper rest and care, you bounce back in less than a week. Even in the scriptures, it tells you to ground yourself when you're in prayer, and that's what I do. I kick off my sandals and I put oil on the bottom of my feet and I pray in the morning. I don't go outside, but I do kick off my sandals when I'm in prayer. Other than I tell someone, take off your sandals, so the place where you're standing is holy ground. And once I was in the spirit, and there before me was a throne in heaven with someone sitting on it. And the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and ruby. Jasper, ruddy stone. Another word they use is sardius stone. The Aborigines of the Americas were what? Copper color races.
Shalom Israel and to all the nations in the truth of Yeshua HaMashiach. Let's do a nice Hebraic mystery on the gospel. The word in Revelation 1:15 says the Messiah has feet like brass. Wrong. In the Aramaic New Testament original, it says copper, nechosheth, which has a gematria of 764. Pay attention. The Old Testament says beautiful, whose feet are those who publish good news, which is Basora, which is the gospel. So the good news are published by beautiful feet, which are copper feet of the Messiah. Pay attention. He came for the forgiveness of sins. Forgive is salak and sin is chata. When you add salak and chata together, you get a gematria of 121. Let's minus the gematria of the copper feet, nechosheth 764, by 121. We get 643. 6 plus 4 plus 3 is 13. Should I tell you something about the number 13? It's the number that spells love. Love covers a multitude of sins. Shalom.
London, demonic being. I'm a fallen angel, Gog and Magog. Our colonizers. So these are all the territory, including the islands, that Abba gave to the children of Israel. Therefore thus say Adonai Yah, surely I have spoken in my high jealousy, against the rest of the nations and against all of Edom, who gave my land to them as a possession, with wholehearted joy and utter contempt, that they might make it as pasture lands a prey. The U.S. map. You see this body of water down here by California? You see those 4 states, better known as the 4 corners? Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. Adam means red, red earth. Colorado's name has its origin in the Spanish language as the word color red. What's the Gulf of California called the Red Sea? Mar Rojo, Red Sea. A name adopted by some Spaniards in the late 1500s. They never caught on, but it happens to be in the maps. I have seen it in 2 maps already. California or Red Sea. You guys should be familiar with the story of the Red Sea, the crossing of the Red Sea. It tells of the escape of the Israelites led by Moses from the pursuing Egyptians. So Daddy dried the waters and we crossed over. When the Egyptian army tried to follow us, Daddy closed the waters and they all drowned. I'm not too sure how to pronounce this. I think it's pronounced Lachey, Chapter, Arizona. Notice how red it is, right? Antelope Canyon, Arizona and Utah. As you can look at it very closely, you can see that this formation was caused by a large body of water. And needless to say that it happens to be a holy site. Now to the Gematria, Arizona. The 10 Commandments, the inner Satan's reign, Ding Dong Matrix, Last Trump as in trumpet, not Donald Trump. And speaking of the last commandments, the Los Lunas stones. There happens to be the 10 Commandments written in Paleo Hebrew, and its location is in New Mexico in the 4 corners. The phoenix is a mythical bird that symbolizes renewal, regeneration, and hope. In Christianity, Phoenix, Arizona, also within the 4 corners. Sedona, red soil. For Adam means red, red earth, red soil. Mexico. Death to America, God is coming here. The Grand Canyon. All in the same area, the 4 corners. Man died because of one's sins. The prophecy hates the coming of the Lord. I am the red horse, rider blood. Reptilians are inferior, a chosen messenger of the God. End of the world, I love you all. The Anointed One, Illumination, Matrix Reloaded. Holy of Holies, Astral Travel, Kingdom of Heaven, because the Holy of Holies is in the 4 corners. The meaning of life, the Prince of Peace. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there should be those who escape, as Adonai has said, and among the survivors shall be those who Adonai calls. In the reading Ezekiel, it tells you that his people dwelled at the center of the earth. The middle of the earth and the center of the nations can only be Jerusalem or Mount Zion. Located in the southeast corner of California, only a few miles away from Mexico and Arizona, sits the official center of the world. Again, the 4 corners. Mount Zion is in Utah. Again, the 4 corners. In Felicity, the history of humanity is either owned by the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers, one of those families. The 4 corners, the Native American reservations. The Four Corners Monument, which marks the point where Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah meet. The Four Corners. And you see the circle right in the center? Well, that was where our temple was at. You see again, Felicity? You see the center right there, the dot in the center? Well, yeah, that's where our temple was at. For Adonai has stirred up the spirit of the king of the Medes to march on Babylon, destroy her. This is his vengeance on those who wronged his people and desecrated his temple. You see the map? Israel, right at the end, by California. You see there's the Red Sea. Where they're in the black, that happens to be Utah. And the Mormons have taken over all that territory. Because I covered this all before. If you want to read any of the images, you're going to have to pause it and read it. Mormon Church, Supreme Messianic Right. The chosen needed to recreate Jerusalem, so it called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is a God-honoring place, and that terminology really stuck with me. Because they know that that is the real Holy Land, the real Jerusalem is there. And I also covered this before. The AI system, the Skynet, is set up in Utah. America is the real Israel. There you see Utah, Salam, Jerusalem, and you see there too, Mount Zion, Utah. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints announced plans to build the third new temples in Utah. Angel Morori's statue returns to the top of the Salt Lake Temple. Salt Lake Temple renovations reaches new heights. At last, a tower spear structure is placed. A lot of things happening in the last couple of months in Utah. I had covered this before. Abba said that the lands will be returning to us. And this is another recent headline. And they're also returning artifacts that's sitting in museums, including human remains. So I posted this video yesterday. You see it, the one that I circled in red? And you see how they're not letting it run on TikTok, right? It's at several views. And it's all about how Abba told us, the children of Israel, to put fringes on our clothes and a ribbon of blue on the border. And these artifacts that you see here, they're sitting in museums. Taken from our people, as you can see, there's the fringes and they have the borders of blue. Even until now, there's the blue and the fringes. You see the blue ribbon in the back? So reparations and wealth transfers, this is what it means. Our lands and waters returning right back to us. July 31st. Black and minority farmers get $2 billion in payments after USDA acknowledges years of discrimination. A long time from now, you will be called to action. In distant years, you will swoop down onto the land of Israel that will be lying in peace after the return of all the people from many lands. You and all your allies, a vast and awesome army, will roll down upon them like a storm and cover up like a cloud. For at that time, an evil thought will come into your mind. You have said Israel is an unprotected land of unwalled villages. I will march against her and destroy these people living in such confidence. I will go to those once desolate cities that are now filled with people again, those who have returned from all the nations, and I will capture the booty and many slaves. For the people are rich with cattle now, and the whole earth revolves around them. So this is when Abba gathers us and takes us back home, because the other nations are going to be suffering from plagues, famine, natural disasters, and they're going to be hungry, and they're going to want to take what we have and enslave us all over again. But Israel and Jehudah will be fighting Gog and Magog and all the nations for how long? For 7 years. And I will make a vast graveyard for Gog and his armies in the valley of the travelers, east of the Dead Sea. The war is at home, not abroad. So yes, the nations are copper color and black. We did start off copper color, but a lot of us, due to colonization, like I said before, are fair. We're speckled Berber, come in different colors. And Jehudah was black because he was born from the tribe of Judah. And Jehudah was black. In the scriptures, it tells us that he will be gathering us from the four corners, right? Israel and Jehudah. You ever notice the measurements of the New Jerusalem? It's a box that fits perfectly at the four corners. After he destroys the Antichrist temple, the New Jerusalem will come from heaven to earth, where his holy temple was at. So the promises that Yah made to Abraham is that we get our lands back, and that's exactly what's happening. But he needs to purify it first with water and fire. This is in the reading of Ezekiel. To speak to the dry bones, they become a vast army. It is Israel and Jehudah. Sons of dust. I picked that in particular because it says sons of dust. Because Adam means red clay, red earth. For Adonijah says, You are the one I spoke of long ago through the prophets of Israel, saying that many years have passed, I will bring you against my people. But when you come to destroy the land of Israel, my fury will rise. For in my jealousy and blazing wrath, I will promise a mighty shaking in the land of Israel on that day. All living things shall quake in terror at my presence. Mountains shall be thrown down. Cliffs shall tumble. Walls shall crumble to the earth. And I will summon every kind of terror against you, says Adonijah. And you will fight against yourself in the mortal combat. And I will fight against you with sword, disease, torrential floods, great hailstorms, fire, and brimstone. Thus will I show my greatness and bring honor upon my name. And all the nations of the world will hear what I've done and know that I am Yah. For this is what Adonai Almighty says. After that glorious one has sent me against the nations that I have plundered you, and whoever touches you, the apple of his eye, as in the Big Apple, New York, where Liberta happens to be at, there goes the apple, and those are the chains that happens to be around her feet. After all, we are in captivity. And there goes her torch. So the eclipse that took place on April 8th, that's the judgment over Nineveh. That whole area is Nineveh. So that's the whole area where the District of Columbia is at. And by the way, I'll be adding a video that further explains the District of Columbia. Well, that's going to be hit by a tsunami, and it's going to go underwater. And that is the purification of water. The rest will be fired that's coming down in America. Missiles.
A third city-state was officially created in 1982. That city-state is called the District of Columbia and is located on 10 square miles of land in the heart of Washington. The District of Columbia flies its own flag and has its own independent constitution. Although geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are one interlocking empire called Empire of the City. The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars, one for each city-state in the 3-city empire. This corporate empire of 3 city-states controls the world economically through London's inner city, militarily through the District of Columbia, and spiritually through the Vatican. The Constitution for the District of Columbia operates under a tyrannical Roman law known as Lex Fori, which bears no resemblance to the U.S. Constitution. When Congress passed the Act of 1871, it created a separate corporate government for the District of Columbia. This treasonous act allowed the District of Columbia to operate as a corporation outside the original Constitution of the United States and outside of the best interests of American citizens. A sobering study of the signed treaties and charters between Britain and the United States exposes a shocking truth. The United States has always been, and still is, a British Crown colony. King James I was famous not for just changing the Bible into the King James Version, but for signing the First Charter of Virginia in 1606. That charter granted America's British forefathers a license to settle and colonize America. The charter also guaranteed that future kings and queens of England would have sovereign authority over all the citizens and colonized land in America stolen from the Indians. After America declared its independence from Great Britain, the Treaty of 1783 was signed. That treaty specifically identifies the King of England as the Prince of the United States and contradicts the belief that America won the War of Independence. Although King George III of England gave up most of his claims over his American colonies, he kept his right to continue receiving payment for his business venture of colonizing America. If America had really won the War of Independence, they would never have agreed to pay debts and reparations to the King of England. When Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, the U.S. President was made subservient to the King of England. The 13th Amendment is called the Title of Nobility Amendment and forbids U.S. presidents and their officials from using royal titles like king or prince or baron. For some mysterious reason, the 13th Amendment, which was ratified in 1810, no longer appears on current copies of the Constitution. America's blood-soaked War of Independence against the British bankrupted America and turned its citizens into permanent debt slaves of the king. In the War of 1812, the British torched and burned to the ground the White House and all U.S. government buildings, and destroyed ratification records of the U.S. Constitution. 1 century later, a corrupt U.S. Congress committed the biggest theft in world history. They passed Paul Warburg's Federal Reserve Act in 1913, handing over America's gold and silver reserves and total control of America's economy to the Rothschild banksters. Most Americans still believe that the Fed, or Federal Reserve, is the government. It is not. The Fed is a privately owned banking system whose majority Class A shareholders are the Rothschilds, Warburgs, Kuhn and Loeb, J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, Israel Seif, and the Lehman Brothers. This private banking cartel is the Fed and is never audited and never pays taxes. They print and design America's money, which displays their symbols of an Egyptian pyramid, a Masonic all-seeing eye, and the words "In God We Trust." Who exactly is the God they trust?